Welcome to ELA Radio, where we tune into all ways of knowing. I'm your host, Laura Lynn, and today's guest is Laura Giles. Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's get started in asking about your career. What was your career journey like?
Oh, it's been non-traditional. Yeah, I bounced around, kind of got a lot late start, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I was very clear about what I didn't want to do. And even when I did commit to something, it was always very non-traditional.
So, what different kind of jobs did you have?
Well, I've been a truck driver, I've been a belly dancer, I'm a trauma therapist. Those are the main ones, the ones that I enjoyed the most.
How cool. Such a variety. So it's
Yeah.
also cool because on the show it's about looking at polymathy, and so polymathy is having different interests in different kinds of subjects, and I feel like you've already kind of covered that.
Yeah.
So so what are you currently working on now?
I'm a trauma therapist. It's my, primary way of making my living.
Cool. And so what led you to that?
Oh, it's interesting. So I had no interest in that whatsoever, actually. I was in college for business, and I was looking for an easy A for an elective and took a psychology class and was like, "Oh my god, people make sense. This is so intriguing." And that's what led me to it, and it has always been fascinating. Never-ending fascination with humans.
Yeah. How cool. Do you think that it was I know you said for the easy A, but do you think that your intuition was leading you to that class?
Oh, it could be. I think that we're all intuitive, so that's very possible.
For sure. So, looking at your chart, you have Scorpio in the first house. It's your rising sign, and trauma therapy is about going deep into the dark, the same aspects as Scorpio. You
Yeah.
also have Scorpio in your as your South Node, and so do you think that you? Well, it's kind of how do I ask this question? Some people say that they were born into their career, like that's like their purpose. Is that how you feel? Like this is your purpose?
No, I don't feel like it's my purpose, but I do resonate with that Scorpio energy. I'm very willing to go into the dark and go deep with people, even into the scary places that I don't even know what's gonna happen when we get there. I like that energy a lot, so it suits me for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's like what you were saying with the psychology class where you can go deeper and deeper and deeper, and it kind of seems like it's never ending.
Yeah, yeah.
So, would you say that so your motivation or Mars, like the action planet, you have it in Scorpio as well, but it's in the 12th house. So, this is like the scary of the scary. So, the first house is how your inner world is, but then the 12th house is looking into like the mysteries of life or even like the dreamscapes. Do you touch on dreams at all with your patients or your clients?
Yeah, if they're willing to go there. So all of that is definitely me. I work as a home funeral facilitator, and I'll do officiated funerals, so death, all of the dark taboo stuff, psychic stuff, all of that is me. Absolutely 100%. You got something creepy going on? I'm there for you. I got a podcast, Paranormal PTSD Recovery. I mean, it goes in all of these spooky, unknown, mysterious ways. Yes.
Wow, how cool. So now moving on to your education. So what were you like as a student?
Very curious, interested, good student because I always want to learn things. It's more about the curiosity though than getting good grades, even though I did get good grades. It's just like, oh, that's pretty cool. And what else?
Definitely, definitely the sign of a polymath where just everything interests you and you just want to go deeper into everything.
Hmm.
What was your favorite part about school?
Hmm. Um, I don't know, all of it, I think. It wasn't like I liked a particular subject, I liked learning.
Hmm. Okay. So that's pretty cool too because your where I just saw your Gemini. So your Gemini is in the 8th house and again with those spooky kind of taboo subjects is the 8th house rules over. And then Gemini is the sign of education, a sign of interest and a lot of
Mm,
different aspects of Gemini. And so you can even see it like with the Gemini twins, where uh, there's just so much that goes on with schooling. And so some people talk about the academic part, or some people could talk about the social part. So or enjoyed the social part. So did you enjoy both?
more the academic than the social, but yeah, the social too. Um, I was not a popular person, though. I had my friends, and then I kinda stayed away from that. Those I don't know, I found the popular people kinda weird, and I think they probably thought I was a little bit weird too. So it wasn't social in, like, a popular way, but definitely, yeah, it was not antisocial.
All right. So if you could design your own education, what would it have looked like?
You know, it's funny, I was thinking about that the other day. So strange that you're asking that question now. I think it would be more hands-on. It would be more natural, organic, and you learn by doing. So it wouldn't be sit in a chair looking at a chalkboard all day long. It would be being out in nature and seeing how things work. I would love
Yeah.
to have that education and give that to other people.
Yeah, that'd be so cool, and it's a perfect segue into the next section looking at nature. So, were you always connected to nature?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
So what is there a lesson that nature has taught you?
I think nature's the ultimate teacher. It would be hard to say what nature hasn't taught me. So I grew up animist, so you're connected to everything. You're rooted in life itself and nature. And yeah, it's just always been a part of everything.
Yeah, that's really cool. You have Virgo in the 10th house, and so Virgo, an earth sign, is is obviously like rooted in nature, but you have Pluto and Uranus there, and this is like I said in your 10th house, and so it's about your career and a career about like finding like the ground for people and helping
Mhm.
them through that transformation with Pluto. So would you say that you help people ground?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, as a trauma therapist, definitely. But also going into this, many things that I do, I also facilitate spiritual travel, and that's absolutely what it
Mm.
does. So we go out into nature, yeah, and it opens people up, but it also helps them to ground, literally.
So could you go more into like a how does that work?
Yeah, so we typically go to places that have a reputation for being spiritual aspect to it, like Stonehenge or the pyramids, even though, those are the more well-known, we do some not well-known ones as well, and then use the energy of the place to help to balance and regulate our own and just to tap into the divine, and it's always, the yin and the yang are always balanced there, so as you open up your heart center, your crown, you get more rooted as well.
So it's like a meditation or what is
Mm-mm,
it? Like
mm-mm.
a sound bath?
No, it's a experience of being. So we can do rituals and practices and stuff. Typically, we don't. I'm always available to do that stuff for people, and it depends on who is there. But honestly, just being there in a place with other people where you feel safe and happy to be yourself, willing to be yourself is enough. We don't typically do a whole lot of ritual, even though we can. I'm always available. Like if somebody has a problem and they need some extra something, um, I'm more than willing to do that. I'm a trauma therapist, I have the skills. But It tends to be more natural and just flowing, and I think when you're in a space where you feel safe and you feel supported, you just get out of your own way and it just happens. So there's not a whole lot of techniquing that has to happen.
That's a great point because I feel like so many people want to ground, but they don't have the skills. But you're saying that it's more about letting go of control and like allowing that surrender to
Yeah.
just let it happen. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. We all are just born that way. We're born grounded. We know how to do that. We just need to get out of the way.
Interesting. Okay, so now looking at Pisces in your fourth house, um, so we already talked about Scorpio being the ruler of your inner world, and here Pisces, if the fourth house, this is looking at deep relationships. Some could say with family or with community, and so you have Mercury here, and so this is the way that you speak or the way that you think. Is there a specific way that, or like, is there an analogy that you could offer how your mind works?
Well, I'm an INTJ, and anybody who knows Myers-Briggs knows that they call female INTJs unicorns. You've heard of them, you've never actually seen one. And
Mhm.
we're known for being the masculine thinkers of females, and that's absolutely true. Especially when I was younger, it was just really hard to connect with other females because they're just like, "There's something a little off about you." It's not as much that way now, but I definitely think like a man.
Interesting. Yeah, and it's really close to your sun sign. And your sun sign is it's still in Pisces, but in the fifth house. And so the fifth house is about how you express yourself and how you want to be seen. So do you think that it's different in the way are you how you've mentioned that your mind might is working differently? Would you say that the way that you want to be seen is also different?
I don't know how to answer that. I'm not sure that I spend a whole lot of time thinking about how I want to be seen, which I think is also a masculine thing.
I think like just in the short time that we've known each other, it kind of seems like you just go with the flow and allow things to happen. Is
Yeah,
that true?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
not a lot of plotting about me at all.
Okay, yeah. So that's definitely a Pisces trait. So it's definitely
Yes.
still goes in line.
Mhm,
The next water sign is Cancer, and Cancer is where you have your moon sign. Your moon sign is also in the eighth house. And so once again, alluding to you loving this mysterious, these taboo topics. But as a Cancer moon, it's about knowing when to I always talk about Cancer as the crab. So
mhm.
when or like a clam, like when to clam up or when to be open. So have you developed any techniques or just knowing yourself on how to or when to know when to open up, like when to how do you know when a space is safe, like when you were talking about the different places?
I think that's kind of intuitive. I don't really think about that at all, but I am a watcher more when I was younger than I now. But I'll just wait and see if there's space. If there's space for me, then I'll enter it and I'll show up. But if there's no space for me, then I don't.
What a great answer. That's very interesting with Cancer, like I was saying, being the crab. A crab won't come up to shore if there's no space. So it's about knowing where you can, like where you fit in also, kind of. Hmm.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, a
Um,
hermit crab can't go in a shell that's too small.
yeah, that's a great analogy. So what role has intuition played in your career?
Everybody tells me that I'm intuitive. I don't really feel that way. I think it's probably because my mom is like super intuitive, and compared to her, we know reality by what we can compare it to. Compared to her, I'm not. So I don't really know how to answer that other than to say that I think it runs in the background unconsciously. I mean, I do know things. I don't think about how I know them. I just know them. It's not like a real surprise or anything, but it's everything's relative. Compared to her, it's in the infantile stage.
Okay. But so would you consider intuition a valuable knowledge? Like when do you know when something is true, like if it's just running in the background?
Um, so INTJ, the N is intuition. And the way that it works for me is that I'm always looking for that click. And if something is clicking on a mind, body, and spirit level, then I know it.
Hmm.
If it doesn't have those 3 clicks, then I don't know. I can think something, but I don't really know. But I mostly travel in the space of I know.
Hmm.
So I
How
guess you
cool.
could say that I'm always there.
Yeah. So do you think that intuition development should be taught in schools?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the way that we're taught in schools, going back to that first question about what kind of education would you like to have, teaches it out of us. I think we all have it from the time we're born. I think the reason why mine is maybe developed as it is because it wasn't.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so too. In my own experience, I was a teacher for a long time, and I taught all grades from like kindergarten up to high school. And in kindergarten, they come in with so much imagination, and
Yeah.
even by fifth grade, it's like pulling teeth trying to get them to use their imagination.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, what do you think about like how do we keep the imagination in kids longer?
Well, it's funny because I teach a class and it's adults, and we start off with a game. And when someone new comes in, they don't want to do it at all. It's like, we're not allowed to do this. It's a right and a wrong, and you can't do this. This makes no sense. It's not productive. But I think the more that you give people permission to do that, we want to do that. That's part of being a human. I mean, even if you look at apes, they play. And so I think the way to encourage that is to give people safe places to play.
Definitely. How could we do that? It just like in different classes, or do you think that there needs to be like a different system? How do we introduce more play, or like I'll give permission to play?
Yeah, I think it could be, I mean, it doesn't have to be a teacher, it could be your own family. I think it starts there. You know,
Hmm.
so we do improv games at the beginning of our group, and in improv games, there's no right or wrong. And the sillier and goofier you get, the more fun it is. So, not only is there permission to play, there's an expectation that to be a good player, you have to go, all out. And then after people do that for a while, then they stop being so self-conscious, and because it's this always working from your brain, and being self-conscious gets in the way of you being yourself. And once they're able to do that a little bit more, then you start to see the real person come out, which is the whole point of being there.
Yeah. So it's cool because you have Aries in the fifth house, and Aries is that spark or that joy. It's that childlike wonder, and fifth house is expression. So the way that you express yourself is in this childlike capacity. And it's also where you have Saturn, and it's really close, so conjunct to Lilith. And Lilith is about like exactly what you were saying, like when your subconscious gets in the way, like when your subconscious
Mm.
it gets in your way and you don't allow yourself to come out. But then Saturn is about constricting and making it maybe like in a way of creating a safe space. Saturn is about time and space and really like having a plane. So would you say that you're into developing spaces where more people can have this kind of play?
How funny. You are just right on time. So, I've done the sacred travel for 20 years, and just this week, I've decided that our next, so we have a trip going to Alaska, but the one after that is going to be this special thing that I've never done before that is exactly that. So, it's called Honey, I'm Home. and it's creating a space for people to have the safety, and connection that we have on tour to just be with other people, because what I've noticed is that people don't know how to do that. And if you grew up in a family that didn't know how to do that, how are you gonna learn how to do that? You need that safe space, and you need boundaries, and you need a way to learn, a role model, and that's what it's about. It's a safe place to learn how to be a safe person, open, curious, yourself, maybe for the first time in your life. So, yes, right on time.
Wow, how cool. And that sounds like such a cool concept. Was there more information that we could let the audience know?
So the website is my name. It's lauragiles.me, and that's where my sacred travel stuff is. This idea just came up this week, so depending on when this airs, the information may not even be there. It's that new, but it's on paper and it shouldn't be too long.
Incredible. This also kind of goes with so still looking at Aries, your Venus is at the 29th degree in the 6th house. And looking at, so Venus is the sign of beauty and love and connection. And the 29th degree is really interesting because it's the last sign before moving on to the next. And so the next would be Taurus. But you being here with Venus, it's showing that you've already learned what you needed to learn about childlike play and the Aries, like the sparks, all that kind of stuff. And so now you're ready to help people ground, and it's what we were talking about earlier,
Mhm, mhm.
where where you are facilitating these spaces to the safety aspect. That's very Taurus.
Yeah.
So to have a safe space in to have fun and to play and to um yeah, have all of that. Sorry, I forgot to turn my do not disturb. Okay. Okay, so now moving on to Taurus, that's where you have the North Node. And so a North Node is something that our souls are moving towards. And here in Taurus, it's towards grounding, towards stability. And it's so cool because that's where you have your ascendant and descendant. So your ascendant is Scorpio. We were talking about going into these dark and mysterious taboo spaces, whereas Taurus is like a field of roses where it's all light and beautiful and pretty. And so you're moving from the darkness into the light, but in such a powerful way, because you have your moon coming in. So it's like this diamond of energy that's really illuminating you forward. And so bringing up with your new concept, it's all very much in line with that. How do you have you had any experiences where it was difficult to get to this quote unquote light space?
That's I am loving this conversation so much. I can't even tell you. No, but, everything that you've said has been so positive, and I think that astrology can illuminate dark spots and challenges, and I heard that the 29th degree was like, uh so I'm not an astrologer, so I'm not challenging, I'm just trying to understand. The
Mhm.
29th degree was the part that gives you the most pain. Um,
Interesting.
is there a way to interpret what you're saying in not so rosy terms?
I've never heard that the 29th degree gives you pain, but I my north node and my moon sign are both on the 29th degree, so I'm like, "Huh,
Oh,
maybe that's where
okay, okay,
that's coming from."
okay.
So speaking personally, I do have a lot of trouble opening up my heart and opening
Oh,
up to get to my north node, and it is
oh,
very difficult for me. So I'm like, maybe it is a 29th degree thing because like I said, that the 29th degree is the last every sign is 30 degrees, so it's the last
Yeah.
degree that it can
Mhm.
be in that sign. So maybe it is the hardest to be able to push forward into the next sign. So
Oh,
that would
maybe it's
make
like
sense.
birthing. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so
Mhm.
it's like moving, inching closer and closer until you're finally to the other side, and since, well, for both of us, our 29th our north nodes are so close to it.
Mhm.
Um, the north node is what your soul's evolution is for this whole life, and moving closer and closer to it. And so that's why I said it in rosy terms, because it is. I don't know
Okay.
how else to put it. You've already been through the darkness. Like, you do have a lot of dark
Yeah.
placements, but it seems that you've already gone through it, and it's only roses on the other side.
Well, I guess if you put it that way, I'm really comfortable in the dark. I mean, I could swim in the dark forever. I'm even like caving. I love caving. So I literally love to be in the dark. So maybe relative, would I rather be in the dark than in the light? I think I probably do prefer the darkness, the night sky. I mean, all of it. So maybe relatively, I don't have any problems with being in the light and enjoying life at its finest and most beautiful. But maybe relative to that, yeah, I do prefer the dark.
Yeah, that could definitely be it. Because Taurus, they sometimes they get like the bad rap of being lazy, but it's because Taurus is in the state of like total bliss and luxury and just wanting to
Mhm,
be
mhm.
waited on hand and foot. And so maybe that's like what you're being called to in this life, to be
Oh,
able to
thank you.
relax and be waited on, and that might make you feel uncomfortable.
That yes, that resonates. I'm a worker bee. I like being busy. I like being productive. So that is hard. Yeah, when you look at it that way.
Mhm. Okay. So now we're going to do a quick this or that game. So just whatever
Okay.
pops in.
Mhm.
But if you after it, if you want to elaborate on any of them, we can do that too. So
Okay.
the first one, I think I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Sunrise or midnight?
Oh, midnight.
Math or history?
History.
Forest or city?
Forest.
Teach or learn?
Learn.
Read or write?
Oh, that's a tough one. I read.
Drive or fly?
Again, drive.
Logic or feeling?
Mm. Can I do a little bit of both?
Well, actually, this is a good one because I wanted to ask more about it too, because you're talking about getting so intuitive that where where do you have the room for logic? Like, how does your mind work where the in this instance we need to use logic, because sometimes
Mhm.
intuition is so illogical that
Mhm.
it for me it like scares me to go down that route because I'm so logic based. So when I'm seeing you like
Mhm.
not knowing where like, how do they say it, teeter-totter on these 2, how do you could you, like, maybe talk about each of them and how you like them?
Yeah, so when I teach DBT, that's my group, and it's one of the um, skills in DBT is wise mind. And wise mind is a little bit of logic, it's a little bit of emotion, but it has that intuitive piece, which is, I think, such a wonderful concept because I think I live there. That's so it's not an intellectual way of thinking, but it's not totally feeling either. I mean, almost never, despite all that water in my chart, you're probably never going to see me crying anywhere. And it's not that I don't do feeling, I do, but I don't teeter-totter to either one of those, so I'm in that kinda middle space that's it's more of an intuitive way of being than a logical one or an emotional one.
Interesting, okay, so you have, Aquarius at the bottom of your chart, in the IC, but it's also in the 3rd house, so it's, like, the way that you interact with the world, and Aquarius is the one they say, like, Aquarius is disassociate and they're aloof, but the way that I see Aquarius is that you kind of have to take a step back in order to get like a bird's eye view to be able to understand how everything comes together. So is that maybe how you're seeing logic and emotion or reason and emotion, where you kind of have to take a step back to be able to understand it more?
That makes sense because I'm a very big picture person, very big picture. And in the
Mm,
big picture, you zoom out on anything, it's going to look way different. It's not going to be
yeah,
particularly emotional either because you're not
yeah,
that close to it.
cool. So, are there any other ones that you wanted to go deeper on?
What I was picking up on this, and I don't think in these terms really, I know a little bit about astrology, but I kept thinking, oh, that's a water thing. That's a water thing.
Yeah. I think it's because I had just, like, went into talking about your water signs, but you actually also have a lot of fire in your chart.
Hmm,
So,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
we could yeah, so we could talk, about that. So we talked about Aries already, so, like, that spark. So now let's get into Leo, which is, like, the eternal flame, and you have it in the ninth house, which is about expansion and go traveling, which we already talked about. Traveling and learning different
Mhm.
languages, learning more, like, spiritual practices, or, like, your belief systems are very lit up. Like, there's, like, this eternal flame that comes on with your belief systems and how you grow. And you also have the the fortune, what's it called? Yeah, the just fortune, and this is in 3 degrees, so it has that Gemini aspect. So this is just means that you're really lucky when it comes to growing and to expanding. Would you agree?
Mm. No. I don't know. I've never seen myself as lucky.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Is that like a belief system, or you just don't believe in luck for anybody?
It's probably relative. I think my sister is super lucky. She gets all kinds of opportunities without having to do anything. That's not been me at all. I mean, I
Hmm,
have
how
had good fortune, but not in the way that she has. So it could be perspective.
oh, it could be like that comparing thing that you were talking about with your mother too.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's what it's, like, getting at here, and I think it's also, because it's that 3 degrees, and you don't have really any, air in your chart, and so that air could also make you feel uncomfortable. So yeah, so that was the sun part, I mean, the fire part with, Leo up at the top, and then you also have Sagittarius, which is now, like, people talk about Sagittarius in different ways. Some people talk about Sagittarius as a wildflower flower, a fire. I don't know, I can't say it today. A wildfire, but Sagittarius can also be like a thunderbolt or a firework, like something that's explosive or really just big. And that's what you have in your second house. So, again, like with your values and um, on how to bring in wealth, all of that, it's like a firecracker kind of energy. So, yeah, you do have a good amount of fire in your chart.
Nice.
Next, let's get into to air now. So like I said, you don't really have air in your chart, but you they do still rule certain aspects. So like what I was talking about with Aquarius, with the bird's eye view, with Gemini, and um, you make friends in the dark is kind of like what the Gemini is talking about. And then with Libra in the 11th house, that this is how you form your community. And so you kind of mentioned it a little bit with the playing aspect, but Libra is also very flashy, and it really brings people together. It naturally rules the seventh house, which is like one-on-one relationships. So would you say that your community is based on these one-on-one relationships?
Yes. Most of the people in there are introverts, so it
Mm,
is a lot of one-on-one relationships.
how interesting. So, how would you do you feel more comfortable with the one-on-one relationship versus being in a group, or is it just because of your clientele?
No, I do feel more comfortable one-on-one. I mean, you just have more space to go deep.
Mhm.
I'm not uncomfortable with other, in a crowd or anything like that, but yeah, I like the intimacy of a one-on-one relationship, and I don't necessarily mean, romantic, but platonic too. You can just go deeper.
Mhm, definitely. Yeah, when in a group, it's kinda hard to go deep.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Alright, and now for the last game. We have the game called The Museum of You. So, if you could picture your life or your career path as a museum, what is one part of your museum that you would want every visitor to see before they leave?
Honestly, my museum would be empty. I
Interesting.
think that we're here for the time that we're here. I'm not a legacy builder. When I'm gone, and I don't really think about what that's like for anybody else or myself. I think my museum would be empty.
Hmm. That's interesting because going back to Leo, that's where you have your midheaven, and the 10th house is
Mhm.
also about legacy. And so it's kind of like when the light is out, the light's out.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you so much for allowing me to ask you all of these questions.
Yeah, it's been very cool.
Yeah. So where can people find more about you?
So my website is lauragiles.org. That's probably the best place, or Linktree is Laura Giles. I have lots of web stuff, so that's probably the best place. Linktree, Laura Giles.
So if they look you up, they'll be able to find you.
Yep, mhm.
Okay, awesome. Did you have any questions before we close?
I didn't. I thought it was, very interesting. You have a cool way of putting together the astrology that is useful and makes a whole lot of sense.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Sure.
And that's it. Thank you so much for being here. If you know of an astrology lover or an astrology hater, send them this episode and let's talk about it in the comments on Instagram or even in the review section because, who doesn't want 5 stars? If you want to know more about our guest, please check the links below. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Bye.